Duskhaven has come out with a lot of new information, from a Q&A to a couple of tidbits of video and stuff. We're going to go over as much as we can in this video alone. So first things first, the Q&A. They just did like half an hour to an hour long, I don't remember how long it was, Q&A where they took in questions from the Discord chat and they edited it together so you just got the answers. I'm going to go over what they said. So most of this is in order. Some of it I rearranged a little bit to kind of fit, something that was down here, up here, where it kind of makes sense with, categories and stuff. But in a sense, it is mostly in order. So the first things first, he says that the world itself is not going to be focusing on big cosmological bullshit. There's going to be no apocalypse, no big threats to Azeroth, which, thank fucking God, I'm so sick and tired of those kind of stories in retail. I'm over it. But instead, they're going to be focusing on Trogs, Gnolls, Centaur, which are going to have an increased threat in the world of Azeroth. Not only that, the monks of the Scarlet Crusade are planning a rebellion. So that's going to be awesome to try to just, check out. Now, that's going to be all we have so far for the story. From there, they talked mostly about PvE stuff like raids and dungeons, as well as gear. Nothing really on PvP, but I guess we'll get there when we get there. But for now, let's go over what they talked about. So, real quick with the story. Players are important, but it's not going to be in your face. It'll be more apparent by tier 3. So they're not going to force the story on you, nor the gameplay. They want you to just kind of go out and explore things as you would in vanilla, which I'm completely okay with that. And again, I'm completely okay with not forcing the story down your throat, because I absolutely fucking hate that. Anyway, now onto the PvE stuff. Normal and heroic are going to be flex mode, which, if you don't know what flex means, it's flexible between like 10 to 30 players. So you can have as many players between the bracket, and the bosses and dungeon raids, or rather, will scale with the amount of players you have. But mythic mode is going to be capped at 20, which is basically how retail is at the moment. They're going to be staggering the releases of the raids by the difficulty, so normal comes out first, then heroic, and then mythic, typically by 1 to 2 weeks each. The first raid, which, by the way, they did not mention at all anything about Molten Core, so we'll get on that in a second, but the first raid won't release at launch. It'll release about a week or two after, about 1 week roughly. That way it gives you time to level and stuff without rushing. So they never mentioned any current, like Blackwing Lair and Molten Core, Zul'Gurub. They didn't mention any normal raids by name. So they did say some raids. How many are there in retail? You got 1, 2, 3. There's like 6, 7, I guess, raids in original vanilla. They're only planning on keeping like 4 of those, and the rest of them are going to be all custom. And even then, the 4 that they're keeping, they're going to have a lot of custom stuff inside of it. But we don't know what the first raid is going to be, because they never said Molten Core. They never said any of them by name. So we'll have to wait and see what the first raid will be. They said that the beta itself is indeed soon. There's just a couple of like large game-breaking bugs that they're trying to sort out first. Once the game is not broken and we can actually get in without it just dying on us, then we can get in and test the game. But for now, they just have a few more bugs to iron out that are breaking the game. So once that's done, then beta will launch. Every single class, including custom classes, there's going to be 14 total, and on top of that, all specs, including classes that are already in the game, are completely overhauled. They're from scratch. Hunters, warriors, all of their specs have been completely redone. So pretty much every class at this point is custom. From there, they talked about legendaries. Here's I put most of the legendary stuff together, but there might still be stuff later on. they did confirm that Ashbringer is going to be a legendary weapon, like a purified Ashbringer, but you can also obtain the corrupted one if you want to play as a Death Knight, for example. And it's not going to be class locked. Any class can wield it if you can wield a sword, but it's going to be a strength weapon. So really, it's optimal for any strength users like warriors, paladins, hunters, maybe. Everything's a hunter weapon. They do plan on eventually adding agility and caster legendaries, including, they said, healer and possible hunter legendaries later on. But for now, their Ashbringer is going to be the first one. And then I have it written down somewhere later on, but I know what it is, so I'm going to say it now. They did say that Thunder Fury is, at the moment, not going to be in the game. They want to rework it and then eventually re-add it in, but it's not going to be the first legendary, and it's not going to be in the game at launch. I don't know about Sulfuras, though, so they didn't really talk about Sulfuras. But anyway, I'm blanking, give me a second here. Legendaries are going to be changing on how you acquire them. They didn't go much into detail other than you're going to have to perform a couple of quests. So I think it's more along the lines of, like, think of Shadowmourne, where you get the quest and you have to do a bunch of quests, gather stuff, and then build it. But it's not going to take nearly as long. Shadowmourne takes, like, run after run after run after run after run, months and months and months of grinding. Fucking hell. They said that they don't want to do that. They want you to be like 3 to 4 quests and maybe a couple of runs, and not months and months and months of grinding 80 Serenites or whatever it was. I forgot how it is, but they don't want it to be that bad. So because of that, you're going to see slightly more people with legendaries, but even then, the higher difficulty of the raid will give you a greater chance at the items or a higher drop rate, like more of them quantity wise. So it'll be faster to finish them in the higher difficulty raids. Now, on top of that, they said that they don't want them to be best in slot forever. Like when you get Thunder Fury, you keep it for life until TBC. You kept it for life. I like that. Unfortunately, they don't see it the same way, and they're going to be nothing more than tiered weapons. They're going to just be overglorified lore weapons with an orange label. They'll be the same, basically, quality as a normal tiered weapon. So once the new tier comes out, it's not going to be your best in slot anymore. It'll be the next one. However, because people might not like that idea, they said that it's possible, it's not going to be at the launch, but it's possible that they will implement a system that if you get a couple of items from the new tier, then you can use those items to upgrade your legendary to make it of the next tier's quality. So if people want it, they will add that option, but for now, they're tiered weapons, which I don't like at all. Why be legendary at that point? Just make them an epic weapon. On that note, tiers will be harder than typical vanilla classic or whatever. Their DPS, on the other hand, in terms of damage dealers, with the gearing and how everything pans out, they're planning on DPS roughly. I'm sorry, I'm getting really bad acid reflux. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. DPS is planning on being around 3,000 damage, 3k damage at the start, with towards the end when you're fully geared and it's the last tier, they're aiming at 25,000 damage on average from your normal damage dealer, which that's fucking crazy numbers. Like, I don't quite remember off the top of my head what vanilla numbers are for average DPS. They're probably a couple thousand, but like 3,000 for me, that I'm thinking of like Wrath numbers, like 5,000, right? And then 25,000, that's like Cataclysm numbers. That's just way too high in my opinion. Like, I would rather them do a number squish and just have lower numbers, because the bigger the number goes, it becomes almost like you're not even paying attention at the number. It's just numbers everywhere and you can't focus on it. If your average hit is like, let's just say 50, right? You're hitting 30, 40, 50, 30, 35, 40, and then you see that 100, it's like 100, it's like, but if you're just seeing 100,000, 200,000. It's just numbers, zeros everywhere, right? So I don't really like the bigger numbers, and I think going from 3,000 to 25,000 is a huge fucking jump. Like, that's like retail number jump. Because I remember at the start of Cataclysm, they started off at like 10 to 15,000, and then it jumped to like 50,000. It's like, holy shit. But anyway, on that note, though, DPS will not be as important as doing the mechanics themselves. You do need to focus on boss mechanics in terms of, don't stand in fire, but on a greater scale. They're going to be incentivizing more mechanics rather than just the basic don't stand in fire. And it's going to be more important to do those mechanics rather than DPSing. So if you need to stop DPSing to get out of shit, stop DPSing to get out of shit so you survive. If you stand in the shit to try to maximize your damage, you're going to die. So on that note, that's fine. I'm completely fine. Okay. I'm okay with that. Now they did say they absolutely do not want Titan forging. Now, there will be randomized tertiary, I cannot pronounce that word, secondary stats, whatever it is, third stats, secondary stats, whatever it is, I can't pronounce that word. Anyway, I've never been able to. Those will be kind of randomized. Now, they said that some of them will be from retail and some of them will be new custom. Like, they didn't say which ones, but maybe Leech. Leech was pretty fun. I liked Leech. But besides that, there's going to be no Titan forging. Now, you could still enchant, you can still gem, which we're going to get that out in a second, and do all that stuff after you get the item, but the item itself is going to be the item itself. Okay, I've said this already, no Thunder Fury. The 4 of the raids will be the same, but the rest will be fully custom, and I think they gave out a number of 8 custom raids. Now, not all of them are going to be at launch. It's going to be a tiered system, so in a couple months, the next tier, then in a couple months, the next tier, so something like that. Now, Mythic Dungeons. There are Mythic Dungeons that were in Duskhaven 1. Mythics will go up to level 10. Now, you can play higher levels for the challenge, but the gear is capped at level 10, and they will have leaderboards, so people who want to play the higher levels can be like, look, I did level 20, so my name is on the board. Okay. Dungeon Journal will be added to the game, and they will include all of the custom content. That way, you can read in the game how to do the various bosses without having to ask in Discord or make a third-party site or something about it. So that's going to be, I guess that's fine. It's harmless for me. There will be a few mods ready to go for this server in particular, such as Atlas Loot, or their version of Atlas Loot. But a lot of them will not be ready on time for launch, maybe later on. And then some of them, for right now, is an absolute no-go, such as Questy. Now, I believe it's 3.3 by 5, so there should be a built-in system anyway. I personally won't use it, because I don't like when a big fucking arrow tells me where to go. But I believe it's already built into the game, so I don't think Questy should be necessary. Anyway. Crafting will allow you to craft raid gear, but only up to normal mode. From there, you have to get gear from raids. So it will allow you to make gear for raiding, but nothing past normal mode. Jewel crafting, there we go. Jewel crafting and inscription will be on the server. You're going to have gems, you're going to have sockets. They didn't quite say what inscription's going to have, because as of right now, inscription is unfinished. It might not make it to launch, but it's in there, and they're going to be working more on it. Now, in terms of the Mythic Plus, we're going to go back to that, because again, I just kind of mixed up a little bit. There will be, in the Mythic Plus bunch, that is, 12 dungeons in Season 1, and will rotate every season, except for 4 dungeons, which will always be in the rotation. And I believe that 4 dungeons, they didn't say exactly what, this is my speculation, but I believe those 4 dungeons are going to be like the main 4 level 60 ones, like Skull Immense, Blackrock Depths, Black Rock Spire rather. So I think it's going to be just like the 4 normal level 60 dungeons. In Mythic Plus, there will be some custom affixes, but there will be also some old ones from retail, as well as they will be removing universally hated ones. Now, I absolutely hate Mythic. I refuse to do it anymore. I remember affixes exist, but if you told me the name of an affix, I won't know what the fuck it is, because I just don't care. So, I know there are some that people absolutely hate. I couldn't tell you which ones they are, because I just went and I did the dungeon, I fucking hated it, and then I quit. So, there's that. I hate fucking Mythic Dungeons, I hate them so much. Anyway, next thing. In terms of raids themselves, we're going to go back to raids now. The difficulty will be a little bit scaled on numbers, but there's going to be no... Well, obviously they're going to be scaled based on numbers of damage dealt and health and everything, but what I mean to say is there's going to be no additional abilities for bosses. Instead, the abilities that they already have are going to be upgraded. So the example he gave was the Houndmaster, which he's saying Houndmaster, so that I don't know if he's meaning like it's like a normal heroic mythic dungeon of Scarlet Monastery, or if they're turning it into a raid and Houndmaster is in there. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, he said Houndmaster. So Houndmaster on normal mode will have a basic shot or something, like just a shoot ability. Then the heroic ability, it will be a multi-shot where it shoots everybody. And then on mythic mode, it's a multi-shot but it explodes. So that's what he gave as an example of abilities upgrading per level. So then the last couple of things I want to talk about. Now, they talked about a couple of other small stuff, but it's not important. It's all smaller stuff. But the last two things we're going to talk about the Q&A at least, is going to be that they have pretty much almost every model up to like around BFA, maybe Shadowlands, but I'm pretty sure BFA, all the models are going to, are scaled down or downported rather. So any armors, creatures, anything like that are in the game now in terms of models for armor and weapons. I don't know if all of it will be available, but they said they're planning on some of it at least to be obtainable through challenge modes and other forms of gameplay progression and stuff like that. While you also have druid forms that will be obtainable the same way. And the one example he gave was the Fire Kitty form for feral druids. They will be available in the tier 2 raids. And then this next part's gonna be mixed in with the last question, but the they said that as of right now, cosmetic armor is not going to be on the store. However, they have not ruled it out. So right now, nothing in terms of cosmetics, armor, druid forms, or whatever are on the store. But it might be in the future. They just haven't decided either way. But for right now, it's not. And then on top of that, they said, this is the last question here that I have written, that unfortunately, there will be quality of life on the shop. They didn't quite go into it other than, like, auto-looting. They're going to have auto-loot, but they didn't go in farther than that. And then you're going to have your basic, you know, your race change or class, or not class change, but race change, gender change, name change, all that kind of stuff are going to be on the shop as well. Now, let's go into the last part of this video. Well, I got two parts, but one of them is rather small. So if we go over here, let's switch. There we go. So this right here is a short little video that they just released yesterday of different rares that you can find in the world. Now, you're going to have, of course, your normal rares that they're just there. Some of them, however, you have to do special tasks, special gameplay, something to get to them. And this one right here, so you can see, now, I don't know if those labels are going to, like the grapple hook right there, Red Ridge, I don't know if the names are going to be there or you just go and click. but you can see he's grappling up like you would in Legion, like that one area in Legion, the Stormheim. And there's the rare right there is the dragon. Then he grapples all the way to, let's see, right about there. Yep. Now there's a he's just kind of showing off the dead gnolls there. There's a horn. When he blows the horn, that's what gets the, there he goes. There's the boss right there. He gets them to come to him. Now, the mechanics behind this boss are exactly like Scotty from Wrath of the Lich King. See how he's in the air so you can't really reach him, but these orcs come out, and as you kill the orcs, they drop the harpoons. You pick up the harpoons and throw it, and that's what damages the boss. And then from there, you'll get a quest item to turn in for like massive experience gain. So there it is. Boom, and he got the scale, and it'll give you 400 experience, which I'm not sure how it scales at low levels there. And then there's another one, he kills these guys, and then this guy kind of like comes out and like kicks him off. There it goes. That one's not as fun as the dragon. The dragon one was cooler. But then I'm just gonna set this here for the remainder of the video. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty much the end of this video. All of the Q&A, well, not all of it, but the majority of the Q&A, at least the important parts that I found, including a little showcase of the rare system. Now, Duskhaven is a real mixed bag for me. There's a lot of stuff that they seem, we have to wait and see how it actually feels and actually plays, but from on paper, it looks really, really good. Now, there's also some things about it that I'm kind of like, about, such as Lightforged Draenei and fucking Void Elves and all this bullshit. Those... Hello. Those, I got distracted by a wire. Those to me are just not canon. They're so fucking stupid, and they do not exist in World of Warcraft, in my opinion. Now, on the other hand, you also have stuff like the making a bigger importance on the Trogs, the Centaur, attacking various areas in the world. They said that if they want to do anything magical in terms of story, it's already on Azeroth. We don't have to do cosmological bullshit. If you want a story about undeath, we'll go to Plaguelands instead of Shadowlands. He said if you want a magical something with magic and all this kind of stuff, we've got Karazhan. We don't need to have some Titan or whatever come down to Azeroth and all. So in that sense, I absolutely love that. I love the just down-to-earth story. Now, down-to-earth, realistic stories, yeah, you can have your dragons and your wizards, but it's a story that's on a level that just we as normal humans in real life can relate to. I cannot relate to meeting literal gods and killing them, and then going into outer space as if this was a sci-fi game instead of a fantasy sword and board game. You know what I mean? I already can barely tolerate the steampunk stuff. The steampunk stuff I tolerate. The spaceships I don't. So it's like they're doing stuff right, and they're doing stuff that are like, ugh. So especially like the quality of life on the shop, it's very, like, you know, cringe. But the rest of it, like the new models, I'm okay with. I have nitpicks here and there, but having the new armor, fine, whatever. I think some of them are a little bit too shiny for me. Again, I'm very practical. I like just dirty leather and steel. I don't really care for the magic everywhere, so anyway, that's gonna be the end of this video. There's still no date on the PTR or launch of Duskhaven. Again, they said that they're just trying to iron out a few last minute just game breaking bugs. Once they got those sorted out, then we get the beta. So possibly next month, but I hope it doesn't overlap Azeroth at War, as Azeroth at War is also having their PTR at the end of this month. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I think I'm going to throw up now. I will talk to you guys later and see you on the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.